in Seattle.
That's a bit, yeah. Seriously, it's a bit slushy out there. It rained all night.
I was talking to Yvonne on the way in, and I pretty much blamed her when she came from Seattle. She brought all this stuff.
But you know what they say about April showers?
Mayflowers?
They bring May flowers.
Yeah. Does that really count in Virginia? I think that's more of a northern thing.
Is that a northern thing?
I don't know. My yard, all my flowers are popping.
All my flowers are popping in our
Yeah.
yard too, yeah.
So
Yeah, maybe it's a northern thing. Judah,
or maybe
April,
it's just a thing that's a thing that is a thing.
April showers, May flowers, Judah? What should it be in Charlottesville? April showers, May powers, May
April showers drown the flowers.
drown the flowers. That was funny. That was very funny, Judah.
Look at Judah, huh?
I like when Judah makes jokes.
Yeah, look at Judah.
He's got a very good sense of humor.
He does. It's that dry.
Oh, yeah, it's very dry.
Kind of very. You got to look at him and go, okay, is he serious or is he joking? And then he does what he just did right now.
Does that little Judah smirk.
That little Judah smirk.
Yeah.
And then you go, that's what this is.
Viewers
about.
and listeners, give the show a like and a share anywhere you are watching. Like the show, share the show. We'll have a good time today on the Wednesday edition of Real Talk with Keith Smith.
608, by the way.
Brandon Harrop, welcome to the program. The talented real estate photographer Jesse Rutherford, Supervisor Nelson County Neil Williamson, President Free Enterprise Forum Holly Foster, who loves Real Talk with Keith Smith.
Oh, thank you.
Queen of Henrico, Bill McChesney, Ray Cadell, Georgia
Gonna be in
Gilmer,
that neck of the woods here after the show.
talented mortgage broker extraordinaire Dean Russell, Seth Liskey, the Stantonian real estate investor and financier, Trip Stewart, real estate investor, Ellie Tucker, your husband was amazing on Friday. Harold Hertz, the real estate investor, Scott Q, a happy YRP client, Brittany
Mr.
Gray,
Q.
and Aaron King. Welcome to the broadcast, just to name a few. Love you guys. Love your support of the program. Mr. Michael Plecker, one of the Shenandoah Valley's finest backstops. What's that, Keith?
Backstops.
Backstops.
Is that the unofficial name for a catcher?
That's a
Is it backstop?
synonym for catcher, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought the backstop was the thing that was behind the catcher.
Backstop, a guy that stops the ball from going.
Behind the back.
Yeah.
Therefore,
Backstop.
backstop.
Right.
What are we going to talk about today?
Maybe
Maybe numbers, huh?
I follow your lead on Real Talk with Keith Smith because it's a Real Talk with Keith Smith.
Oh, God.
When it comes to what are we going to talk about and me in the lead, that's called the I Love Seagull Show.
in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Thank you for pointing out the obvious. I
Yeah.
don't have my Captain Obvious socks on.
Yeah.
So today, we're going to kick the show off a little bit about, what happened in first quarter.
And we should do it when the cameras are on.
We should do it when the cameras are
Yeah.
on. That would be really good idea.
Absolutely.
You would
Judah-
think this is my first show, not show 608.
Judah Wickhauer, we're going to have some fun. Logan
Judah,
Wells Kalelo,
smile,
hello.
Judah, will you? There you go.
We can rock and roll Keith Smith and Judah Wickhauer when you're ready.
I'll have a sip of caffeine.
Please do. Please do.
Quiet on the set.
Good Wednesday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and thank you kindly for joining us on Real Talk with Keith Smith. It's great to be with you. Our studio in downtown Charlottesville. We are smack dab in the middle of everything on a show that has quickly become the voice of the real estate community in a market we call Central Virginia. It's 300,000 people strong. The show is called Real Talk with Keith Smith. It's presented by Yes Realty Partners. YRP and Yes Realty Partners are trusted advisors in this crazy market and this crazy industry of real estate. Check out Yes Realty Partners online at yesrealtypartners.com. A lot to cover on Real Talk with Keith Smith with the star of our show, the always distinguished, the always debonair
In my old man sweater.
Keith Smith. He says he's wearing an old man sweater. I don't think it's old man sweater.
Well, that's what the girls call it.
It's an old man sweater?
They say,
It's a vest.
They call it old man sweater.
Old man vest, right? Isn't sweater with
It's
sleeves?
an old man sweater vest, to be exact.
Old man sweater vest?
Old
Now,
man
here's
sweater.
the question I have for you.
Good.
Does the sweater have to have sleeves? To make it a sweater, does it have to have sleeves? Because what you are wearing right now, by my definition, that's a vest. I understand it's knit material, and it's the same material utilized in sweaters. But would that not be a vest
This is a
instead of a sweater? Sweaters have to have sleeves, do they not? Judah Wickhauer is often the voice of reason in
This is
topics like
way
this.
above my pay grade.
Viewers and listeners, is Keith Smith wearing a vest or a sweater?
Or a sweater vest, and it's something new, something else.
Or a sweater vest? Sweater vest is a mouthful, isn't it?
A sweater, sweater vest is a mouthful. The rain is a mouthful.
The rain is a mouthful, yes. the
Well,
rain
if you
is-
go like that, it'd be a mouthful.
Ray Cadell, I'm going to get to
Ray,
your comment here in a
hey,
matter
Ray,
of moments.
Ray, thank you. So look, I wanted to kick off. This is the first couple of days of the second quarter. We kind of typically 1 or 2 days after the end of the quarter, kind of take a look at the quarter that was in our car footprint, and then we usually compare it to what the quarter was the previous year. So we've got a bunch of slides that we'll go through that, but maybe we'll take Ray's comments first.
I think it's a
and then-
great comment.
and we'll kick on from there.
I think it's a great comment. Ray Cadell, he's a broker. He's been in the game, I want to say 30 years and change.
Oh, I think more than that. Way more than that.
Ray Cadell, are you at the 40
I think
mark?
he's been in it longer than we've been in the game. That I know for a fact.
Okay. He's got this comment. J-Dubs, check my Facebook page if you could, please, sir, with the show airing on that page. I see everything else connected beautifully. Ray Cadell says this: if interest rates come down a tick, there is a theory that lots of buyers are on the sidelines just waiting. Inventory is tight enough now, of course. What are your thoughts if interest rates drop and how it would impact the market? I think it's going to cause a buyer's bonanza and prices to escalate even more and perhaps more bidding wars to occur. But Keith Smith, you're the star of the program. You stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last
I
night,
just booked one for Philly.
and you've been in the game since
I
1987.
literally just booked one for Philly.
Our chemistry is clicking today.
We happen, I'm a Hilton Honors guy. So I would love Ray's.
That was a humble brag right there. That's what that was. A humble brag. I'm a Hilton Honors guy. Keith Smith.
Oh, yeah, no, all that means is we spend way too much money on Hilton hotels visiting grandkids and stuff like that. Look, we've been talking about this forever on the show, right? The first question is when, and if somebody has a crystal ball and says when, I think they're kind of not being truthful about it. But in theory, I don't think the balance is going to change that much. I think you're going to see more units come on, but you're going to see way more buyers come in there. So what we're looking at right now, I'm looking at the last 7 days. 84 units came on the market, 92 went pending. So we're still going pending more than what's coming on. Good news is we're in the 80s per week. A couple of months ago, a couple of weeks ago, that was in the 60s. So we're kind of growing somewhere between 80 to 100. But there's a ton of people sitting on the sideline. The question becomes, at what price point, right? So I think the first-time home buyer or the people that are trying to get into the entry level, as we go through these numbers today, are going to be somewhat shocked. Sticker shock is pretty tough. As interest rates drop down, homes become more affordable. Then the flip side of that is okay, is the seller going to start raising their prices, right? So let's just take a look at it real quick, Ray, if you don't mind, and Jerry. Slide number 1, if you don't mind, Judah. So what you're looking at is a comparison of total homes sold and the median sales price for quarter 1 in 23 versus quarter 1 in 2022. And this is in the full Charlottesville Area Association of Realtors footprint. So that's Charlottesville, Albemarle, Havana, Nelson, Green, and Louisa. It's everything, right? It's attached, detached, new construction, condos. So when you take a look at it, the number of sales in that full footprint was down 8%. So we're selling, as a footprint, 8% less homes. These are homes that have actually closed, not under contract, but closed, but the price went up 9%. So if we were just to take a snapshot of what this is, quarter over quarter, full footprint of everything that's trading, every product type is trading, we're basically down 8 or 9%, 8% exactly.
And 2023 was a down year.
That's my point. But the interesting thing is when we start taking a greater look into each jurisdiction, you'll find each jurisdiction performs very differently. Charlottesville, for example, is way up, way up. And the question is why on that, which it took me a half a night.
Charlottesville City.
Charlottesville City.
I mean, we know why.
Well,
It's close to employment.
It's close to employment.
Employment.
Did
39 years for Ray Cadell in the business.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought he had way more than me.
He said 80% of his career has been with first-time home buyers.
Yes.
It's a sad nightmare for them right now in Charlottesville and Albemarle County.
And it's just going to get worse because this decoupling that's who's going to impact the most. The people that can't afford it, and how professionals like Ray and other folks are going to go ahead and navigate that is what's the topic du jour on how to help these buyers make some magic happen.
We should get Ray Cadell on the show.
I would love to get Ray. We've had Ray a bunch of times. He's played taps for us and on 9/11 a couple of times, and would love Ray on it. But so overall footprint, down 8% in volume, up 9% in cost. Slide 2.
Slide 2, Judah.
This is shocking.
Oh,
Shocking.
put that on screen,
Slide
J-Dubs.
2. Everybody take a look at the left side, my arrows, right? Sales were up 22%. So there's 22% more homes that closed this first quarter in the city of Charlottesville. This is everything, right? Versus the same quarter in 2023. Take a look at what the price jump was. 38%. There's been a 38% jump. It went from $380 as the median sales price last quarter to $525. Now, for those of us in the business, Paragon wasn't working for 3/4 of the day yesterday.
Yeah.
So I did this literally from like 8 o'clock at night to 2 o'clock in the morning. So I didn't get a chance to take a deep dive, and we'll deep dive this next
You
week.
woke up early today.
I did, yeah. I think I got about 2 hours of sleep. And was that a humble brag again?
No,
Okay.
that's nothing to be bragging about.
Yeah, no, I'm not exactly thrilled about it. So I'm going to find out why, right? What happened? I have to take a look at each individual transaction. I did a little bit of it last night. The question is, did the rezoning bump price and bump sales? Is that what's going on here?
I don't think so.
No.
Do you think so?
I think not.
Yeah.
I think when we take I took a very cursory review of it just to take a look at who the buyers were, right? So as a rule of thumb, you're going to be looking for LLCs, right? Some sort of business, because I can cross-reference the GIS. So that's what I did for about a half an hour last night. Didn't see a lot of LLCs in the transactions. There was a few. So if you remember when we did the show at the beginning of the year, Charlottesville was way down, like way down by in the 35% down in sales. It just reversed its numbers in the first quarter. And we talked about that in the beginning of the year, that I thought that was a bit of an anomaly, and let's see what happens in the first quarter. Well, we now know. First quarter was a 38% jump in sales price and a 22% jump in volume. So the volume kind of balanced itself back out versus the end of the year. So I thought that was interesting. Any professionals out there listening, if they can get their 2 cents on it, why they think that number's jumped on it. But I just think this is cyclical, and the buyers just hit the Charlottesville market.
Realtors, let us know your thoughts. We'll relay it live on air. We got comments coming in on the feed here as you see my fingers firing away. Ray says this. Ray, you got to come on the show. And that's Keith's call. He says, say that again about decoupling, because that's where the pain point is, and first-time buyers often just do not have the available cash to
Yeah.
pay a buyer's representative on top of down payment and closing costs.
Yeah.
They are the first rung on the real estate ladder, Ray Cadell says, and if they can't take that first step, the problem will just flow upwards and it impact every rung.
So it depends on how. So National Association of Realtors sent a letter to the Veterans Administration last week, basically saying, hey guys, please make sure you include in the VA rules and regulations for lenders that they can allow for concessions to increase from 3 to 6% or 3 to whatever percent to include that. My suspicion is they're ultimately going to have to be tracking the same thing on the FHA and the HUD stuff. It hasn't happened yet. What's ultimately going to have to happen to take care of our clients, because I've got a couple of first-time home buyers that I'm working on right now, is you've got to be transparent with them, right? You've got to be able to communicate with them, and you've got to be able to communicate with the other side. And so this is the conversations we're now having between Keith and Ray, right? Keith's got the buyer's agent, Ray's doing the listing side, and we're having conversations to be able to move the buyer broker compensation into the sales price. Also had a couple meetings post-Friday with Bill Tucker and a couple other attorneys to start figuring out a way that we can come up with an addendum that's going to be attached to the contract that guarantees this, so the first-time home buyer but doesn't have to stick their hand in their pocket to do this.
What do you think of Bill Tucker's idea of paying down the road? A
Yeah.
promissory note.
Yeah, I think he very quickly walked that back and realized it wasn't practical. That is not practical. The way to handle it is in the contract. I've been saying this from day one. It's the way the Pacific Northwest has been doing it, right? It's the way the New York City did it when they decoupled in the beginning of the year, right? It's the way, if any of those folks listening or Brian Buffini folks, he's been saying what I've been saying forever. This is going to look like a commercial transaction where it's very clear, very transparent, who gets paid, how they get paid. The question has been, and we've been talking about it, it's the reason I'm trying to get some lenders on, what the hell are the lenders going to do? How are they going to look at this? And they're only going to look at it the way the regulators look at it. And Ray, if I'm off base, correct me on this.
Please. Dylan's Rule on Twitter. We love when you watch the program. He's amplifying the message on that platform. Viewers and listeners, let us know your thoughts. The mayor of McIntyre watching the program right now. And we're going to get to his comments. The show airs on
That's Louisa County, right?
15 Facebook pages. The mayor of McIntyre is
McIntyre.
City of Charlottesville.
Yeah.
He says an old man's sweater is a button-up cardigan.
I got button-ups.
Yeah, you do?
Thank you.
A sweater vest is an accessory.
Oh.
It's Mr. Bill McChesney right there.
Bill, thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm wearing an old man accessory. whatever the heck that is.
Oh, God, I love hanging out with you. Viewers and listeners.
I always thought that was, no, I'll be hey.
No. I have a feeling I know where you're going. It's in the PG-13 realm, I believe.
Yeah. I thought the old man accessory was the thing that pill that came in a bottle.
Okay, that.
Not PG-13.
Judah just shakes his head with a disapproving.
Okay, so let's talk about
disapproving scowl.
Did I get him?
You talking about vitamin C?
Vitamin C. That's exactly.
Ray Cadell talks about the position the appraiser is in right now.
So we've got Woody coming on next
Woody
Wednesday.
Fitcham Associates.
Woody's coming on next to talk about. I'm trying to ask a lender to come in and sit with them. Any lenders who are watching that
Got Dean Russell watching.
Any lender who wants to join us and sit here, I'm getting some pushback from lenders. They operate under certain rules, and I get it. But I don't think anybody has given guidance from them. But if there's there's a lender who wishes to sit next to Woody, we'd love to have you here and talk about it. I promise you, just like with Bill or anybody else, we'll keep you out of trouble.
Yeah.
Right? But this is just a couple of folks around water coolers with a cup of coffee trying to debate everything that we love, which is real estate and helping somebody with one of the three important things for a trip around the sun, which is shelter.
Shelter. Very nicely done right there. Lonnie Murray, welcome to the
Hey,
program.
Lonnie, how you doing?
Rob Neal, welcome to the program. Olivia Branch, welcome to the program. Johnson Village's finest, Heather Lamont Walker, welcome to the program. Jason Howard on Rio, Georgia Gilmer, welcome to the program. You got 6, 7, 8, 9 real estate investors watching the program right now. And one of them says this decoupling seems to give even more of an advantage to the real estate investor. Your thoughts on that topic?
Yeah, I look at real estate investors as a commercial transaction, right? So I don't think any of that's going to change. I don't really understand where the benefit might be for a real estate investor. Look, eggs, commissions, unlike what President Biden said, has always been negotiable. I negotiate.
What did you think of President Biden's comments?
I think he didn't know what the hell he was talking about.
Do you want to give?
And I generally.
You don't talk politics,
I
but this
stay
is
away-
part of real estate.
I stay away from politics.
Should we give a snapshot of what President Biden recently said?
I think I just did.
Well, I mean, in regards to what he was talking about.
Well, basically what he said is, thank God now real estate commissions are negotiable. I'm paraphrasing it. And they've always been negotiable. I'm going to stay away from different sides of the aisle.
Oh.
It's factually incorrect. We've always negotiated commissions. I've been negotiating commissions, God, since 87, right? And this is what we do. And if you're really good at what you do, you know, I'm good at negotiating, and we're good at negotiating how we get compensated, and we're so good at that, we're also good at negotiating for you and your money. So, look, we may at some point in the show, I'm not quite decided if I want to tackle this or not.
I think it's worth tackling.
Yeah, I know you do.
And the reason I think it's worth tackling is the misconception out there is
Yeah.
the realtors just Scrooge McDuck swimming in gold coins.
Well, Jerry, geez, dear God, certain folks in our industry did that to themselves.
Oh, I know they did.
And
and continue to do so to this day.
and my brain is exploding on that.
Continue to do so to
So
this day.
hold on, let me get this straight. If the general public does not know what we do and how we get paid and all the expenses we have to do, and all they're thinking is what they're seeing on CNN or Fox or whatever platform is this 6 eggs, 3 eggs, 2 eggs, 9 eggs, whatever number of eggs it is, and you go out and post something that I just sold a house in 13 seconds, what the hell do you thought the public was going to think? How come, and we might get to this, and this may be my responsibility to do it, but
I think it is.
yeah,
You have the platform.
we do not, and I repeat, we do not make as much money as everybody thinks we do. Before I get into that, I'd really like to march to each jurisdiction. Can we do that?
Oh, absolutely. This comment comes in from Mr. Cadell, who's making the program better. I have a lot of comments that I need to get to, including one from North Downtown's finest, Grayson, in a matter of moments.
Hey,
Ray Cadell says, current deal I'm working on in real time. I have a current first-time buyer who put in a full price offer plus an $8,000 escalation.
Correct.
And they came in third out of 5 offers.
Yep. Did you lose against cash, right? Yeah.
Van On, welcome to the program.
Yeah,
First-time
look,
comment.
so to that comment, if you're a buyer and you don't know how to navigate and negotiate, just the front end of it, I'm just talking about the part getting it under contract. If you don't have a pro like Ray negotiating on your back and trying to help guide you through this process, and you're going to do this on your own, I've said this, I went back actually and looked at our first couple of shows, like 600 of them ago.
Ooh.
I did that the other day. I know you told me never to go back because
No,
I gotten better.
to each, yeah.
I've
To each
gotten
their
better.
own.
I get angry with myself because sometimes I sound silly.
That's
and stuff
one of the
like that.
reasons why,
Yeah.
I don't even go back and watch
I
mine.
very rarely do it.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do it to.
Because we're our harshest critics.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
Folks
watched.
in this business
Yeah.
don't do that.
I
Because you
watched.
just nitpick yourself to death.
I flipped to him sometime earlier yesterday, and I almost was giving you a phone call. I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. I sound so stupid.
There it is.
But I did it for a reason, because the first several shows we did over 5 years ago, I was holding what I got holding in my hand is my phone. And we were talking about this back then. We were talking about, will this phone replace me? And the short answer is no. The amount of work that it takes, and each year and each month, and as new regulations come, it gets even harder and harder and harder to navigate it. So there's my platform on that. We'll talk about money, because Yona and I, we do our business maybe different than most. I guarantee you Ray does it this way, right? We've been keeping balance sheets and P&Ls on our business and our transactions for 35 years. I'm also a recovering developer and builder, so I look at this business as each transaction as a home. And so in my QuickBooks, which we've been using, well, before that it was a ledger board, then 2000 we migrated to QuickBooks on that. I have a track of every transaction we do, and I track how many hours we put into it, because I look at it that way. Now I got it on my phone, we'll talk about something and I'll plug in the hours in it, because I want to keep track of how much time I spend per transaction. It's a lot of work. You got to know how to do it. But if a guy who got kicked out of high school can figure it out, anybody can figure it out.
Yeah.
Right? It's not that complicated. Before I get into that, let me buzz through the counties.
Oh, absolutely. And to answer your question, they lost to a cash deal, where they waived the inspection entirely.
Yeah. So to Ray's point,
There's a lot of comments coming in.
so to Ray's point, as soon as interest rates drop out, this stuff is going to get worse.
I think we know that.
My,
You can make a legitimate argument.
locations are going to matter, Jerry.
Yeah, the legitimate argument, the time to buy is now.
It's always now.
And why the time to buy is now is because when rates drop, there's going to be more competition. And if you buy now, you can always refinance later, should you choose.
So the part of the reason I want to buzz through these counties, there's a couple of jurisdictions that prices actually went down. So the whole footprint.
You want to put the jurisdictions on?
Yeah, if you don't mind me getting that out a little bit.
And then we'll get to the comments after that.
Yeah, because I think this is an important piece of information to get out. So
Multiple people are talking about they're missing the Monday show.
yeah, well,
Okay.
I appreciate it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
He's a busy man.
We are a little,
He's got grandkids everywhere on the Eastern Seaboard.
and I got to work on my tan at some point.
Talk about the jurisdictions. I'm taking you off track because we're at the 45-minute marker already.
Oh, good Lord.
It's flying, I know.
Oh, good Lord. Number 2. Excuse me, slide number 3, excuse me. This is Albemarle County. I'll just go through them fast. Albemarle County, sales were down by 16, up by 14. Number 4, Fulvana County. I'll let you give me a thumbs up when you're ready there, Judah. Thank you. Sales were down by 30%. This is quarter over quarter. So the number of transactions are down by 30%. Price stayed flat. Greene County, which I was very surprised to see this. Greene County, that's slide number 5, Judah, thank you. The volume stayed flat, quarter over quarter, went down 6%. So there was a 6% drop in price between the first quarter of last year and the first quarter of this year. Here's the other shocker. Nelson County, this is slide number 6. Up 7% in volume, up 20% in price. So there was a 20% jump in price. It went from $357 to $392. And the one that we've been talking about for a while, which is number 7, this is Louisa County. Up 55%. Price stayed kind of flat, only about 2% up. So we've been talking about this. And if you can tag my friend Greg Slater.
Greg Slater?
I used for all the other jurisdictions, I use both Bright and Carr. For Louisa, I only use Carr because you put Bright in it, you get all the you get all the Fredericksburg numbers in it. It really skews the numbers. So these are accurate. These are accurate numbers. So there you go.
Dot the I's and cross the T's. What shocked you about that?
I didn't expect Greene to go down, and I sure as heck didn't expect Nelson County to jump that much. Again, I haven't taken a hard look into it. I'm not shocked about the uptick in Charlottesville. I think last year was kind of a let's hurry up and wait and see what happens. I think that might have been the impact of zoning. Maybe not. I'm sure there's multiple reasons for it, but it seems to be back on par for it. So I was very surprised to see the Nelson County one, though.
That would be the end of that sizzle reel. We're going to play that on the I Love Seville show. I think
darn.
that's important.
Thank you for.
This,
thank you for.
From someone who's asking anonymity.
Yeah,
For
please.
anonymity.
Sure.
I have never used a discount realtor, but I have also never paid 6%.
Yeah.
3 plus 3.
There you go.
Every property I have bought, I have always said, this is the value I place on this house
Yep.
and transaction. I am paying X, seller and both realtors. I don't care how you chop it up or split those funds, but all I'm paying is this.
Yeah.
And the deal always got done for me.
Sure. And it's always been negotiable. You go to buy a car, you can negotiate the price of a car, right? It's always been negotiable. Now, the decision is, do I want to work for whatever number the other side is willing to do? That's my decision. His decision or her decision is how much they think my services are worth. My job is to demonstrate what my services are worth. And we talked about this in the last week. There's some agents that I've been reaching out to the Pacific Northwest that are actually charging a premium. If you want to use me, I'm charging you more. But that's the way the open market,
Free market.
free market is supposed to be, right? The reality of it is there was never any thing that ever written or otherwise.
It wasn't very transparent.
Transparent, I agree 100%.
It wasn't very,
Nobody talked about it. It's kind of like, I got to be careful. It's kind of like something in a family that everybody knows about, but nobody ever talks about it.
like what?
I have no, I got to be careful, right? Because I get myself into trouble. I can assure you the Smith family does not have that problem.
Okay. Are you alluding?
No,
Okay.
that Smith family does not have that problem. It drives Yona nuts because we talk about everything.
Okay.
There's zero things that are hidden out there. So I think part of the problem was what we were also told? Well, you're not supposed to talk about commissions publicly. And I always thought that was BS.
Definitely.
I've always thought that was BS. I think the rationale behind it was, it could be considered collusion or it can be considered whatever. Well, isn't that ultimately where we ended up because we didn't talk about it or we didn't say, hey, this is what I'm worth, right? I'm worth a certain amount of money,
Yeah.
right? And if I can't demonstrate what my worth is, then I shouldn't be in this damn business.
Comments coming in. This is from a YRP partner,
Oh,
Mr. Michael Plecker.
Mr.
One of the
Plecker.
Shenandoah Valley's finest backstops.
Backstops.
I like Mike Plecker. Those types of stats could have been describing the outlying counties in Northern Virginia as the growth pushed prices up and buyers started
Yeah.
moving to Prince William and Loudoun over the many years I lived there. We see the same here now with Charlottesville and Albemarle becoming unattainable for many, many buyers.
So, Mike, I simply ran out of time last night. I wanted to try to plug in Augusta, Waynesboro, Stanton. I just didn't get a chance to see how they were tracking. My suspicion is probably the same set of ratios depending on the jurisdiction a little bit. I think the volume has probably gone up and prices have gone up, but I'll get that ready for a future show. Your fingers are moving pretty quickly there.
They are moving very quickly over here. This question has come in here. Has Albemarle and Charlottesville become so unattainable kind of rides the coattails of what Mr. Plecker just said. Have Charlottesville and Albemarle County become so unattainable in price that Louisa and Nelson and other jurisdictions will see a pop in values perhaps similar to what we saw in Charlottesville 20 years ago?
The short answer to that is yes, right? And the other thing is that's where the buyer who can afford it, that price point is migrating, right? So Greene County, the end of this first quarter, the median sales price was $365. Remember, I said that was 6% down, right? So quarter over quarter, that was 6% down. My suspicion is when we take a look at that at mid-year, you're going to see those numbers reverse. It's the same thing I said about in Charlottesville at the end of last year. I said, look at the end of the first quarter. I bet you're going to see numbers start flipping. I think you're going to see that in Greene County. And I think this is a timing thing. As these new construction projects come on, you're going to start seeing Greene County explode.
She follows by saying, and I want to highlight Stephanie Wells Rhodes watching the program.
ISC.
Of the Interstate Service Company family. ISC is a home's best friend. Interstate Service Company, a very trusted advisor. She follows by saying, you guys often talk Lake Monticello, and I know Keith lives in Lake Monticello. You look at the prices at the lake, it's hard to call them first-time home buyer prices.
Yeah, that 100%.
Kevin Yancey, good morning to you.
Hey, Kevin. Be safe out there in this rain, my friend.
He also says Stanton, Augusta, and Waynesboro. Look at the prices; they're popping.
Yeah.
Per the other commenter.
Yeah, like I said, I simply ran out of time. I normally break out Lake Monticello separately out of Fluvanna County, but just ran out of time. But you're 100% right. The question becomes, so what is affordable, right? We've never really answered that question. We know what the average prices are. We know what the median prices are.
Affordability is relevant to buyer to buyer.
Well, I think the comment that Stephanie is making.
Well, Stephanie didn't make that comment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I wanted to give Interstate Service Company some props.
Got it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I apologize. So whoever made that comment the point is where are we going to go? And we've been talking about this for a while. This rubber band is just going to grow, 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 and grow. You know, when interest rates spiked, we kind of had a pear-shaped rubber band, right? Right, kind of wrapped a little bit closer to Charlottesville, went a little bit up towards Waynesboro, that kind of area. Back to Ray Cadell's comment, what's going to happen now, I think when the interest rates lower, you're going to see this rubber band get back to where it was closer to the pandemic or the unicorn years as far as, you know, activity going further out.
Keith Smith, comments are coming in. You want me to throw some more to you?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, buddy.
Where's the first-time home buyer market?
So that's the point I'm trying to make. We have to determine what that price point is, right? So, I can tell you this. I can tell you this because
Is the first-time home buyer market, does it have a 4 in front of it?
Well, that's where the market is. But
is that what it is?
But is that really the first-time home buyer?
That's what.
Right? Or is the first-time home buyer really needs to be a 3-something? There's just no product there to buy. So there's two different conversations, right? If the first-time home buyer is trying to figure out a way to make a 400 work, right? You know, they have to bring more cash. They have to get down payment assistance. We have to start working some magic that we work on our side of the table. Again, how we earn our eggs, right? To figure out how we can get that buyer into that home. The reality of it is, because there's not enough new construction happening, there's not enough new product coming in, the inventory is just not growing fast enough. And that's just putting so much pressure on the prices to go up. And if you're on the selling side, you're loving it, right? At some point, you might have to buy, and then you're like, oh, hold it, you know. It's great on this side of the coin. The other side of the coin is maybe not so much.
Yeah, but buying with a bag of money is...
Well, back to Ray's comment, right? If I'm selling
more advantageous than buying without a bag of money.
Yeah, and I haven't...
No matter the conditions.
All the work that I did on these things, I normally also have so for those who don't know, this is old school. I literally write all these things down on 3x5 cards and then put them on spreadsheets because it's just the way my brain works. And then I create a slide, and I'm sure somebody out there would probably show me a lot easier way to do it.
Kevin Yancey, a question for you, and then I think we I'll follow your lead if you want to get to what we really make on a deal. Kevin.
Yeah,
says,
I'm trying to figure out a way to mark it. Go ahead, I'll let you.
he says, you know my situation, Keith.
Yep.
Do you see more of that subdivision? That's what he wrote.
I'm going to say no. I think you're
What does he
going.
mean by that?
It's. He asked me to help him out with something, and I did, and I'd prefer to let him be the one to tell the story.
Okay.
But he needed some help, and I spent some time with him doing the best I can to guide him through something, and I'll leave it alone at that. It's his story to tell, not mine.
Okay.
Yes, look, it's kind of like foreclosures, right? Foreclosures are creeping up a little bit, but they're so little, they're so small. When they creep up a little bit, it's not much. We're not back to this point where there was 2 million a year, or huge amount of numbers. They're in a couple of 100,000 within the country. So the situation that Kevin was in, you're probably going to see a few of them, and I'll say this much: there was family members had to pick a decision, do something from either the worse or worse. I can't speak English today. When it was either a really rotten decision or a not so rotten decision. At the end of the day, it was still a rotten decision. Did that make any sense?
That made sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had a pretty shitty choice between two shitty choices to make. Did I do curse again?
You cursed twice right there. Both Judah and our eyebrows were raised a little bit.
I get worked up about this stuff.
This comment, first-time home buyers needs to be redefined. You could be in your 40s and make six figures and be a first-time home buyer. But for the typical couple in the mid-20s making this area's average household income wanting to buy their first home, what's the price range they can qualify and where is it located? Great comment, Mike.
So, Mike, that's exactly right. A lot of people don't know. I believe it's 3 years. Is that Mike B?
No, that's Mr. Plecker.
Got it. I believe that if you, I believe it's 3 years, you all of a sudden get reboot to a first-time home buyer. So Yona and I have been in the same house forever. We could be considered a first-time home buyer from a lender's perspective on that. It's a weird thing, but it's actually, you're thinking young couples. But to his point, look, I was going to.
Rob Neal, I'll get to your comment here in a matter of moments.
I've said this before. 80% AMI, two people, around $75,000, right? Right. The best you can under the land trust model, the best you can probably afford is about a $250 purchase. I'm working on one right now to do that. That's kind of the cap of what a household making roughly $75,000, $72,000 can probably buy. There was a thing in the paper, right? You've got to, it's over six figures to afford the average.
William Price says, when's the new HUD median income numbers come out per household? He says you guys talk about that a lot.
Sometimes
when's
in April.
The 2023 number come out?
We're waiting. It's 2024, but it's based on 2023 numbers. It's sometimes in April.
So sometime this month.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. Yeah. It'll hit my email as soon as it comes in because we've got to revise all our land trust minimums, and it'll go up for sure. I mean,
123.3 now, 123,300 per household.
I wouldn't
now.
be surprised if that was a 125 or north. I would not be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was higher.
I wouldn't be. Well, it's the median, right? So there's a lot of folks. So catch the middle, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a 125. And I remember I was on a panel discussion, and I remember the people from Miami just heads exploding when I told them it was we were 123. That just rocked their world.
Kevin Yancey says my in-laws sold their house in Stewart's Draft. They had bags of money and could not compete. They don't want another 30-year mortgage in retirement, so they bought a modular home and have no mortgage.
Yeah.
Rob Neal.
Thank you, Kevin. That wasn't my story to tell.
Rob Neal says, buy now versus later with rates. It all comes back to math. How much will a refinance cost once rates fall? How much will rates fall? And how long do you plan to remain in that home? Rates might not fall enough to justify refinancing based on expected length of usage. What is the expected price reacting per 25 bips and the rate drop? A not emotional buy now versus wait decision as a result of the above variables. Emotional dream or first time purchase decision, throw math out. That's a good comment right there from a man of reason.
Yeah, so we're short version of it. When's the right time to buy? Now, right?
Yeah.
As long as you can, you're in a position fiscally to do it. Build some equity, build some appreciation. I can't get into too many details, but we're helping one of our first affordable housing land trust buyers resell. They're relocating out of the state, and when as transaction all happens, this particular individual will end up with enough cash for a down payment for a house that they're leaving before. They walked in with no money down, they're walking out with a little bit of capital back to this ladder of housing, right? Get into it at the best way you can, in the best location you can, at a number you can afford. It may not be your perfect house. Nobody's first house is ever the perfect house. But start building your equity, start building your appreciation on it. Buy one less of these things I've got in my hand, and you'll walk out with a little bit of capital after a certain amount of time. If you buy now and have to flip it or have to sell in a year, it's going to be pretty hard to walk away with a ton of capital in a year's time.
The average person is living in their house longer.
So so as much as everybody's been on NAR, and I've said this numerous times on the show.
They provide good data.
They provide good data. The question is will they still be able to provide good data depending on who stays in the MLSs and who stays out of the MLSs? But that's yet to be determined.
This question's come in. You guys talk about the merger of the MLSs. Stephen watching the program, he's an investor. Where's the status, or what's the status with Bright?
So I'm not in the room, so I don't know. It's inevitable at some point in time, and I'm going to make some real estate agents unhappy with this, but I called the decoupling.
You did call it. You called it.
I'm telling you, over time, there's going to be so much pressure, particularly with the decoupling, particularly with the lack of revenue that's probably going to start coming into these associations. When you have folks like Brad Inman and people that I read incessantly, this is what I do in the middle of the night because I can't sleep. I read all this stuff. At some point in time, there's going to end up with these large MLSs. People in my industry do not like to hear this, but that's the reality of it. It's going to happen.
Why do they not like to hear that?
Well, it's a control thing, to be totally transparent about it. It's a control thing. Right now, if you go ahead and do that, you lose control, right? And it's also a private company, right? So they get to set their rules. They get to set all their stuff. But Bright's the second largest MLS in the country. There's 2 or 3 other larger MLSs, and you're going to start seeing these mergers continue because they're going to write big checks to buy them. You mark my words, I think 12 to 24 months from now, you're going to start seeing a lot more mergers of MLSs because it just makes sense and it's practical. Here's the deal from my perspective on it. My brain's going to explode because I'm going to have to learn a whole new system. Right? All this work I do for the show is based on cars, Paragon. If there's some sort of merger, then I've got to relearn all this stuff. And you know how slow I am. That was a joke.
You're not that slow. You're fast on that bike.
Yeah, I know.
You getting bike rides in?
I did on Sunday. It was a dumb move.
Why is that?
It was stupid. I shouldn't have did it. I rode from Charlottesville from our house to Richmond again. Left at 12 o'clock, which was not smart because all the church traffic came out.
You got stuck in the church traffic.
And it rained halfway through.
Okay. Gray says down the road, Grayson, we love when you watch the show. Then Scott Thorpe will get to your comment in a matter of moments. He's a commercial and residential. Grayson says, but you haven't talked if the merger or these big MLSs, is that what's best for us, the consumer? So he's saying you're talking about it from the real estate side, the realtor side, but what's best for the consumer?
I'm not so sure anything will change. I just think it'll be I don't know if it impacts the consumer that much. I think the fact that we're decoupling and you have to have this transparent conversation, which you should have had all along, which most of us do, by the way, on it. The number of agents that didn't is not that large. It was just enough to cause this to happen on it. I'm not so sure. That's a great question. I've got to ponder that a little bit. My thinking, it's going to be a lateral move. I will tell you some of the larger MLS's fines are pretty strict, but that's really not a consumer thing. That's a great question. I'm going to noodle on that for next week. Thank you for asking that.
Absolutely.
I love when folks ask these questions that make me better. I'm going to think that one through. My initial reaction is I think it's a lateral move. It's the same. It's just a different platform.
Do you really think so? The bigger
I can't-
MLSs could have more data points to educate.
Well, we
the
already
consumer.
have it. So we already have it.
But does the consumer get that? Like, here's the thing. I've been talking about this on the
Yeah, but
program here.
Homes.com.
Dude, I'm a huge fan of Homes.com.
I've done.
If you're not using Homes.com right now to look at the market instead of Zillow or the other apps, you are lacking
I've done
information.
6 transactions in Richmond just using Homes.com.
Homes.com is fantastic.
Yeah, totally. But
It's
Home-
way better than the Realtor
but
app,
all-
Zillow and Trulia.
But all this stuff is interconnected, right? Through the IDX, as you well know.
I know that
right?
one.
So what's in the MLS ends up on Homes.com.
But Homes.com has way more information.
It's exactly the same information.
You don't find that information on the Realtor, Zillow, or Trulia apps.
They have access to the same.
They're just not showing it.
It's how they. It's their. You know how to do this.
Their digital infrastructure does not showcase that information.
I don't
to
think
the
they have the
consumer.
capability to do
I
it.
think
and
they do. I think what they're doing is choosing not to give it to the consumer.
No, I disagree with that. I disagree with that vehemently. I only
You
know.
can always update infrastructure. You can always update.
I only know this is because I sat down for a cocktail with the guy from the CEO for. They created some, whatever you guys do on
digital
the back,
infrastructure.
on the back end that's
Yeah.
proprietary to them, that they can figure this stuff out that nobody else can.
I don't buy that.
I'm just telling you what I was told.
Yeah, because we're in the digital infrastructure business. and
I
you
don't
can-
know how they do it, but
you
they
can
do it.
always improve it.
Yeah. So are you suggesting Homes.com is going to replace the MLS?
I'm not suggesting Homes.com will replace the MLS. I am suggesting that Zillow, the Realtor app, and Trulia are getting their
So the
butts
question-
kicked by Homes.com.
Oh my God, yeah.
It's
Oh, yeah.
folks, use Homes.com to
Oh, yeah.
learn about real estate.
So they're not MLSs.
No.
So what?
Homes.com is basically a digital diary of a home.
Correct, because
It's
what
basically it's close to a Carfax of a home.
what they have done is they've merged together stuff that you get off the MLSs, stuff you get off of GIS.
Stuff that you get at courthouses.
So what they've done is they've tied in, and these are all different platforms that are not connected to one another. They've connected them. However they do that.
Freaking amazing.
They figured out, absolutely. They spent $1 billion with a B. September, this is when they shared this with us. $1 billion. That's on advertising.
Yeah,
That's not even on the work that they did.
The
to
build.
Go. They are doing that. Do we know who owns Homes.com? Do you know?
do you know?
CoStar.
There you go.
What is CoStar? Who also owns CoStar?
CoStar is part of the LoopNet family.
And who also owns Apartments.com? CoStar.
Yeah.
So there's this huge platform that goes ahead and does that. Zillow, Realtor.com, Homes.com, which I happen to like, way over Realtor. I used to like Realtor.com. I've moved over to Homes.com. They're just aggregators of information, but there's certain information that they don't have privy to that is on the MLS that you as a real estate agent have.
What? You're talking the agent notes.
Well, no, it's personal information of the sellers and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
the agent notes.
Well, no, there's other information on there, right? On
Yeah.
who the seller is, so forth and so on. Once it closes, it becomes public record. But in the listing end of it, it's all. That's the reason why
Who are the sellers on the GIS?
the seller's on the GIS, but it's not in the MLS.
You're saying it's not on Homes.com.
I think you can because they pull it off the GIS.
I don't think Homes.com is putting names on the.
I don't know. I have to look at it.
Yeah.
So this is how I use Homes.
They are telling mortgage history.
Yeah, well, you can pull off of the GIS. So that's connected to the GIS, right? If somebody picks up the phone and we're going to go take a look at it, I pretty much know how much you got left on your loan just by looking at the GIS
Yeah.
on your piece of property. But look, I use Homes.com. I've done 6 transactions in Richmond. I tell them to my client, I'm going there this afternoon to look at a piece of property. And maybe hang out with the granddaughter for a little bit.
In Richmond.
In Richmond.
Very nice.
So I tell my client, figure out where your where is first. Use Home.com. It's an aggregator of information.
That's fantastic.
Figure out where you want to be. I've got it set up that they touch base with me directly, just like I can do in Paragon through my Homes.com account, because I've got an agent account on that, right? That gives me access to the back end of Homes.com that you have on that. And then I pick up the phone, I call up Jerry. This is exactly how this is going to work, decoupling. I pick up the phone and call Jerry, who's got a listing on 123 Main Street in Richmond, and I say, okay, Jerry, who I am, this is who I am. Here's a copy of my license. I'm a licensed agent in the state of Virginia. Here's my brokerage. I'm a license attached to a brokerage. Tell me about your showing instructions, because that's not in Homes.com, right? Tell me about, is your seller offering any buyer broker compensation? Because that's not going to be in Homes.com, because they're connected to the MLS, which it can't be in the MLS on it. And we have a conversation. What was the 3 things I talk about since the decoupling? Communication is the last. Transparency, and be that trusted advisor, right? Go ahead and show what your worth is on it. And I schedule showings for this afternoon.
This question's come in. This is an interesting
More
one.
coffee.
Jonathan.
We'll talk about how we get paid next week.
Okay. Jonathan.
We only got 2 minutes left.
I see that. Jonathan's a real estate investor. Does he envision a time when the MLS does not exist?
No. It's just going to end up being these large MLSs. Several of them, however it's going to be through it. I mean, the Colorado MLS just sold it to Bright. I can't remember how many months ago. So Bright is halfway up the East Coast, halfway up the West Coast, took on Colorado in the center. There's a couple other larger MLSs. They're just going to become these large MLSs because it's so capital intensive to run and operate one of these things. It's capital intensive. It's human resources. We had our hats off to Carr, by the way. I've been hard on Carr lately, but hats off to Carr, and particularly Tiffany Van with Carr, right? I tried to get on at 7 o'clock in the morning yesterday. Couldn't get on at 7 o'clock in the morning. Happened to have Tiffany's cell phone number. Called up Tiffany. I said, what's going on? And she got all over it to get it fixed. So, credit should be due where credit is due.
Absolutely.
Busted her a tush to make it happen for everybody. That being said, I couldn't do business for 3/4 of the day, which is okay. I took a nap. Okay, I took 2 naps on that. So, wrap up time. I do want to kind of put a tease out for next week. I really want to throw out a recent transaction that we've done, how much money we received, what our actual expenses are, how many hours we had to put into it, because we track that very intently, and kind of understand how much we really work per hour. So that's a little bit of a tease for next week. The number is not going to be as high as you think it's going to be, folks out there. Us real estate agents know this, but if you track this right, if you go ahead and run your business like a business and do a silly thing like put 25%, which is what we do, aside to pay Uncle Sam, right? Because we got to pay that. We got to pay health insurance. We got to pay auto insurance. We got to pay fuel, all these expenses, and I've got a detailed list on it. You'll be surprised how much we work an hour on it. It's why not too many people go into a lot of people try to get licensed. To be successful at it is very difficult.
I love it. Keith, a pleasure.
Yeah. I'll have more coffee next time. I got to go to Richmond. I got to use homes.com to make a sale. Help some people buy a house.
Guys, we appreciate the comments coming in for the viewers and listeners. Certainly appreciated. Judah, thank you. Judah Wickhauer, director and producer. Keith Smith, star of the program. Sweater vest,
Sweater vest. Oh, no, it's accessory.
accessory,
No,
vest,
Bill.
cardigan.
No, Bill clarified this.
Accessory.
I am accessorizing.
You're
today.
accessorizing.
I'm accessorizing.
You're looking sharp. Back in the saddle on Wednesday.
Back in the saddle on Wednesday, visiting grandbabies and in Philly.
Oh,
Yeah, there's our oldest daughter's working in Philly doing a shoot, and grandkids and husband are coming down. We're going up, and we didn't get a chance to see them for Easter, so we're gonna spend Thursday, Friday together with them. Come back because we got a full plate on Saturday. And
my friend, you're fantastic. Keith, Judah, Jerry, Real Talk with Keith Smith, online at realtalkwithkeithsmith.com. Thank you kindly for joining us, the I Love CMO show at 12:30. So long, everybody.
Great episode yesterday, by the way. I watched it. That was awesome.
Thank you. So long, everybody. Well done.
Thank you, sir.
Please.